Welcome to this week's show of the JGoodWithSports podcast. As your boy, break down what happened in the week of sports, what I learned, what's trending, what's important, what gets the people going. But nevertheless, we're going to start with the NFL because, as you know, the NFL is the billion-dollar industry. The NFL is the moneymaker in North America, more so the United States, as far as sports leagues are concerned. Yeah, so the one thing I could definitely tell you that I learned here, which I kind of already knew, but it just gave me, confirmation here. The 49'ers are the class of the NFL. I was thinking that. I couldn't wait to Sunday's game against the Cowboys for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted to see the Niners prove that in fashion because, the 49ers haven't really played anybody this year. Week one, they beat down the Steelers. After that, they had a pretty tight game, I believe, against the Rams. Took care of business against the Giants. Outside of that, I can't remember who else they played, but the Cowboys were next up in line. And the Cowboys, as we know, quote-unquote, America's team, but also, had a lot of hype behind them. That defense was really elite. It's all-time great. Dak Prescott's not turning over the ball like that. Tony Pollard is better than Ezekiel Elliott. CeeDee Lamb is the second coming of the playmaker Michael Irvin, yada, 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 so on and so forth. But what we witnessed on Sunday Night Football in front of America was the famous lines from the legendary Dennis Green, rest in peace. They are who they thought they were, as far as the Cowboys and also as far as the Niners. I felt like the Niners were the class, and by gosh, when they end up winning 42-10, that lets me know everything I need to know in that regard. Brock Purdy out here just being sensational, and look, we understand that Brock Purdy is Mr. Irrelevant, as in he was the last pick of the NFL draft a couple years ago. And we understand that he plays in a system that is predicated on scheme, and probably the sum of the parts around him are greater than him. However, need I remind you that in the course of history in sports, particularly football and this particular position of quarterback, there's been probably plenty of quarterbacks that have had great weapons around them, great coaching, great foundation, and still finds a way to screw it up. As in, what Brock is doing is exactly what he's supposed to be doing, if not more. And there's been other quarterbacks in the past who has had sensational weapons around them, probably sensational coaching, but yet the quarterback was not good enough or did not have the right mindset to do what needs to be done to win games. Now, the name I'm about to say, do not jump off the rails here, but his story, his upcoming is similar to when Tom Brady first got in the league. I get it, Tom Brady, 6th round pick, overall pick 199, was sitting behind Drew Bledsoe initially, and then, Drew Bledsoe eventually gets hurt, and Tom Brady's story begins. It kind of reminds me of that in regard to, Brock Purdy, like I said, Mr. Irrelevant, sitting behind Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Both of them get hurt last year. Brock Purdy has yet to lose a regular season game. But also, if you watch the man play, the eye test, I tell you all the time, the eye test, your eyes does not lie to you when you're watching the ability, as opposed to these highlights and these stat sheets and stuff like that. If you sit there and actually watch the man play, it's like this guy has the it factor. He does. He does. And therefore, he was 17 to 24 passing, 252 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks, no turnovers. None. Christian McCaffrey only had 51 yards on the ground, and he fumbled. But did you know what Christian McCaffrey did? The same thing he has been doing for the last, almost 20 games now? Score a touchdown? That man has a streak of at least one touchdown in a game that has dated back to at least over a season ago. So, and essentially, ever since he's been in a 49'ers uniform, he has scored a touchdown. So just keep that in mind. Every time he puts on that red and gold uniform, he is guaranteed to find the end zone. That's how productive he's been, and that's why he's a leading candidate for MVP. George Kittle had himself a game. That man had 3 catches for 67 yards, and he had 3 touchdowns. So every time he caught the ball, he scored a touchdown. Congratulations. And on top of that, I'm pretty sure at this point you may know, but if you didn't know, for the people that didn't know, on one of the touchdowns he scored, these players like to celebrate, right? So he lifted up his jersey, and under the jersey was a shirt in gray and blue colors, similar to the Cowboys, that says, pretty sure it said F Dallas. Yep. And of course you have Micah Parsons going on his own podcast, saying just basically wait till next time. It's gonna, we got something for y'all. It's gonna just wait. And Deebo Samuel basically said, next time it might be worse. Took it personally. So we might have an actual, rivalry happening here. But I guess technically, in order for it to be a rivalry, at least both teams have to show up to the fight, in my opinion. And it's been a one-sided battle the whole time. But yeah, needless to say, the Niners are one or two teams that's undefeated, along with the Philadelphia Eagles. The Niners have the Cleveland Browns next on the road, the Vikings, the Bengals, the Jags, the Buccaneers, the Seahawks, the Eagles, Seahawks again, Cardinals, Ravens, Commanders, and Rams. So it's not out the realm of possibility this team, can't run the table. It's unlikely, but it's not impossible. But what I tell you, what is possible is them winning at least 14 games if they continue to play at the pace that they're playing at. If they continue to, show their dominance on all 3 levels of defense, show their dominance on offense, and Brock Purdy not turning over the football, it's hard to stop. And so that's why they are the class of the NFL to me. Brock Purdy on the season has 1,271 yards passing, 9 touchdowns, and no picks. He has the number 1 QBR in the league. Put some respect on his name. This is the season where he proves that he's not just a system quarterback. He's actually a competent quarterback that the more and more he plays, the more likely he's going to be knocking on, getting to that elite status that we put him in with the rest of the quarterbacks here. I know he's not there yet, but the more he plays, the more he continues to do this, the more that we just cannot sit here and ignore him. Because for the longest time, a lot of people thought the same about Tom Brady, just him being a system quarterback. It's the system. It's New England. You can plug and play any quarterback in there. Yada, yada, yada. I mean, for the most part, it felt like that was true until we got to the second decade of his tenure in New England, where Tom Brady hardly had any weapons at all. His best weapon was a tight end that played probably like a half the season. Outside of Julian Edelman, you really had a bunch of, yoga players, YMCA members. Like, that's pretty much who New England had, and yet Brady still found a way to win 3 more Super Bowls in that second decade. In the way that this team is currently constructed, like, Brock Purdy makes under $1 million a year based on where he was drafted. He's only not even 3% of the team's salary cap. And so, yeah, they can't afford to pay everybody else around them. But there's going to be a point in time to where they can't. Because they're going to have to give him the bag. They're going to have to bring out 3 Brinks trucks for this man by time it's time for him to get paid. So, do what you can now. Figure it out later. But I'll say this much. As long as he's healthy, he is going to be relevant. Mr. Irrelevant is going to be relevant. All right, so moving on. So just a couple of, key notes here, in case if you didn't know or, just need a little education here. Jamar Chase, my namesake, went bonkers, against Arizona. 15 catches for 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. Breece Hall, that man is officially healthy. If you just watched the game, you saw everything that you need to know. Justin Jefferson, of course, with the hamstring injury. From a fantasy perspective, I'm sad I got him in one league. But I guess from a real-life perspective, for my Chicago Bears, that's who we play next. So a part of me is a little happy about him not playing, but at the same time, you still want to, go against a team that's fully strength. So that way, if you beat them, there's no excuse. Because now, if we win, like, we didn't have Justin Jefferson. We didn't have our best player. Like, I get it. Speaking of which, in my Bears. So last time I was here, Bears had a 14-game losing streak. The following day, they went out on Thursday Night Football and actually destroyed the Commanders on national TV, 40-20. Justin Fields, once again, another sensational performance by him. DJ Moore, 8 catches, 230 yards, and 3 touchdowns. The Bears actually look competent on offense for the past 2 weeks. Well, technically 2 games. The Bears defense actually showed up, generated 5 sacks. And now, with the Bears finally in the win column here, as you may not know, or as you know, they also hold the Carolina Panthers pick, who still without a win this year, and is probably in line for the number 1 overall pick. And so the debate will continue to go, especially if the Bears continue to lose, because that means their draft pick is going to be pretty much up there as well. But the thing is, as you know, USC's quarterback, Caleb Williams, is the hot commodity out here. And all you hear is comparisons to Patrick Mahomes throughout his tenure here for the last year and a half, that Caleb Williams' ability to extend plays and make magic happen outside the pocket as well as his accuracy in the pocket reminds us of Patrick Mahomes. That's all you hear. And that's great. That's great. That's fantastic. And if he actually lives up to that, then, me as a sports fan, is thrilled. I get to watch a prototype of Patrick Mahomes, quote unquote, for the next foreseeable future. So that's excellent. But I guess my question is, and this was a question that I heard yesterday, but I was kind of thinking of it as well. If Justin Fields goes out and balls the rest of the year, right? And the Bears still have the number 1 pick, either because the Panthers just that trash or the Bears continue to lose games even though Justin Fields is playing phenomenal, right? Do you still take Caleb Williams, or do you hold on to Justin Fields? Do you take the guy that's projected to be generational talent, but hasn't proven anything in the NFL because he hasn't played a down yet? Or you keep the guy that's proven something at this point, that you have enough tape on, enough film. At this point, has to be a big enough sample size for you to make a decision. And the fact that he probably proved to you at that particular time that, yeah, you give me a number one wide receiver, you give me a line that can protect me, I can go out here and light it up. So that's what it comes down to. Because the fact that the Bears have Carolina's pick, because they fleeced them in that trade with DJ Moore, not only, you get the wide receiver DJ Moore, you got this past draft's number 9th overall pick, you got the 2024 first round pick, and you got a 2025 second round pick. So we still got another pick coming after this year. All because they wanted our number 1 overall pick, and they drafted Bryce Young, who's going through his own growing pains. I mean, Caleb Williams is phenomenal. He is. My take on it is, if Justin Fields goes out and proves that he can throw for over 30 touchdowns, which this organization has never seen, or he can miraculously throw for 4,000 yards, which this organization has never seen, let me put that in perspective. The Bears have been around for over 100 years. They never had a quarterback to throw for 30 touchdowns in the season. They never had a quarterback to throw for over 4,000 yards. Never. Hasn't happened. So, to my understanding, and I'm about to fact check this while I'm talking, Justin Fields leads the league in passing touchdowns. Who would have thought, right? And I'm about to get confirmation here in a second. But for, a quarterback that's labeled that can't pass, that all he can do is run, he's a running back. Just for him to be leading the league in passing touchdowns, supposedly, I'm about to check that. All right, so right now he doesn't anymore. I guess Kirk Cousins overtook that, but he's tied for second. Kirk Cousins got 13. Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, Tua, and Justin Fields all tied for second with 11. And so, by far, he's definitely progressed. He's definitely having a better year this year than, of course, the last 2 years by default. But at the end of the day, he has to continue to play like he's been playing the past 2 games consistently for the rest of the year. That will silence all critics. That would probably make decisions easier for the front office, for the brass of the Bears to make a decision if it comes down to that. But I'm pretty sure the more weeks go by, the more likely the Bears may be in that position, because the Panthers are terrible. They are. So that's just something to keep an eye on there. Switching gears to the Major League Baseball playoffs, the MLB. So, watching baseball on TV in general, just in the regular season, it's hard for me to gravitate. But watching it for the playoffs and the intensity, it's a whole nother level. Like, playoff baseball is almost second to none for me. Playoff hockey is up there, believe it or not. Of course, NFL in the playoffs, because it's one and done. So, to be honest with you, if I was to rank it real quick before I even get more into this, I would say, that's tough. So the NFL and playoff baseball is probably 1 and 1A. Hockey is probably 2. The NBA playoffs is 3. As far as intensity, excitement, as far as unpredictability. Now, don't get me wrong. I love the NBA playoffs, especially when we get to the matchups that we want to get to. Because a lot of times, especially in the Eastern Conference over the last few years, it's like, can we just, simulate the first round? Can we just get past this? Because I want to see the top 2 to 3, maybe 3 to 4 teams in the second round, and let's go from there. Basically, the real playoffs doesn't start to the next round in the Eastern Conference. As opposed to where, in hockey, even in baseball, to where whoever's really hot at that moment can generate upsets, can make the top tier team sweat. Like, we've seen it plenty of times. We have plenty of evidence to where this happens quite often. And so like, for instance, we just witnessed the Texas Rangers sweep the Baltimore Orioles. And Baltimore had 101 wins on the year. Baltimore won the AL East. But Texas, caught them at the right time. And I watched Game 3. And they really put that game away in the first 2 innings. Sega's a monster. Enough said on that one. But yeah, playoff baseball, man. It's just something about it. It's a whole, another level of intensity. Like, we got the Phillies and the Braves. And that series there, once again, the Braves have probably the most historic season as far as batting is concerned. Like, their slugging percentage is over 500 for the year. We've never seen anything like that. Ever. And yet, the Phillies went into Atlanta, took Game 1. And a sensational ending to Game 2 with a double play to end the game. After the Braves was down in that game, for them to come back and end the way that it's magical. It's incredible. So, that being said, I did pick the Braves to probably win it again this year. I know the Phillies, they were hot last year around this time. Once again, they made a run to the World Series. They went through the Braves. Last year they beat the Padres. Came up short against the Astros. So, some Phillies is a team you cannot write off. And speaking of the Astros, they're up 2-1. They're handling business. So we might have an all-Texas ALCS here shortly. That'll be crazy. And you got and this is what I mean by hot teams, the Diamondbacks, who only had 84 wins. They're up 2-0 against the Dodgers with 100 wins. And we know the Dodgers' payroll is insane. They're definitely the NL version of the Yankees. As we know, the Yankees is just, they spend money to win. Dodgers are pretty similar to the Lakers, right? Lakers just go out and just get the top talent all the time. And that's what the Dodgers are doing. But right now, it's not paying off. You know why? Because the Diamondbacks in general are just playing a lot better. And nobody thought at the beginning of this season that the Diamondbacks would be where they are now. But that's where we're at. So yeah, this is incredible. The Braves and Phillies series, that's the one I'm definitely keeping my eye on. So we'll see how that plays out. Then we got the NBA preseason that started. It's, part of me is like, man, I can't believe the NBA is back. But also I would say, like, watching Victor Wembanyama, watching Chet Holmgren, watching those two going against each other in preseason, watching the future of the NBA, where we getting these 7-footers that are thin, that are versatile, that can do a lot of different things. Like the true definition of positionless basketball. A term that was flirted with probably about a decade ago. Probably maybe a decade and a half ago. When we started seeing the likes of the Kevin Durant's in the world, where there was just, shifting the mold, shifting the prototype. Like, that's the type of player we want to see out here. A 7-footer that can put the ball on the floor, that can shoot it from deep, that can pretty much is officially unguardable. And the more and more, that we progress into the years, the more and more we're starting to see unicorns out here that are doing things that we probably would have never seen 30 years ago. That's when we start seeing the Kristaps Porzingis of the world, which he was nicknamed the unicorn, a 7'3" guy that can extend the floor, that can rim protect when he wants to, that can he can do a lot of different things when healthy. Got that going on. And then now we're starting to see the Chet Holmgrens, the Wembanyamas, the Bobos, it's the generational talent that's starting to become a norm. I just think about it. Generational talent that's starting to become the norm. So when that happens, you're just going to have an onslaught of just elite athletes that are positionless, that can do a multitude of things that we probably about to see some things going forward that we will probably never witness again. Because the likes of the Kevin Durant's, the LeBron James, the Stephen Curry's, the Russell Westbrooks, the Chris Pauls, the sun is about to set on them. A lot of us grew up watching them to a certain degree. And then, there's others that as soon as we became adults, we've been watching them throughout our whole adult lives. And so now we about to see something different for years to come. So yeah, watching them two going against each other, giving each other buckets, flexing on each other, not backing down from the challenge. Like, I'm excited for that particular matchup going forward. The Thunder is going to be an impressive team. The Spurs should be fun to watch. And if I flip in, to other teams that are young, the Pistons, I'm excited to see what they have going on with all that young talent. The fact they brought in Monty Williams as coach, who's a mentor, who's a teacher, who can develop young talent. And the fact they gave him, I believe, a 6-year contract, they basically are saying that we're going to give you the time necessary to grow this group, to build them up into contenders. Because you don't see that every day. Because nowadays, it's a microwave society that we live in. We always want results instantly. We don't want to sit there and wait and let it develop. We're impatient these days. So I am happy for Detroit and for Monty Williams for that particular situation. But, flipping back to the Western Conference once again, that's a pretty stacked conference as far as the competitive teams. Maybe not every team in that conference is going to be a title contender, but you have at least 10 teams that's fighting for playoff spots here. I'm sorry, 11. And of course we got the play-in tournament and all that stuff, but when we actually get down to the final 8, who's going to make it? I posted this question in our Facebook group. And it says, 3 teams here are missing the playoffs. Which 3 will it be? Yeah, the Timberwolves, the Nuggets, the Lakers, the Suns, the Clippers, the Mavericks, the Kings, the Warriors, the Pelicans, the Grizzlies, and the Thunder. Yeah, somebody's not making the playoffs. 3 of these are not making the real playoffs. And I posted it in the group. We got different answers here. I haven't given you an answer. I'm going to give you an answer before I get off of here. So one person said the Timberwolves, the Lakers, the Mavs. Got another one that says Pelicans, Thunder, Clippers. We got Pelicans, Mavericks, Clippers, Pelicans, T-Wolves, Thunder, Mavericks, Warriors, Timberwolves, Lakers, Clippers, Lakers, Clippers, Timberwolves. We got Kings, Grizzlies, Timberwolves. We got Grizzlies, Clippers, Timberwolves. So definitely a bulk of it is the Timberwolves. And then I think the next bulk is the Pelicans, which are 2 teams that I expect to ascend this year. I think Anthony Edwards is about to take it up to a whole nother level. He has definitely become one of my top 3 favorite players in the league. Because he doesn't back down. He isn't scared. He comes to play. He's not fooling around. He competes. He wants to smoke. He embraces competition. He has Mamba mentality. So I feel like the T-Wolves are actually going to be better. I think the Thunder is actually going to be better too. The fact that, what they did last year, no one expecting. You add Chet Holmgren to that? Yeah, that's tough. So if I would have to pick a 3, which is really hard here, I would say Dallas, because they haven't even addressed the perimeter defense that ailed them from making the playoffs last year. I would say probably the Grizzlies, because the first 25 games you without Ja Morant, so those first 25 games are going to be critical, very critical. And I feel like a lot of their success last year, they overachieved. So just on paper, that's a little tough for me. And probably the Pelicans. And that's just me saying that Zion's just probably not going to be healthy enough to play majority of the year again. Because with Zion, they were a sensational team. Without him, they missed the playoffs. But anyway, we'll keep a lookout on all of that stuff. Thank you for joining your boy, J Good, here on the JGoodWithSports podcast, wherever you get your podcast from. Next week, we'll revisit. We'll see what happens. Appreciate you all. You all have a good one. Until next time, peace.